Well, as we have said before, this is the pro class drivers. So this is the top of the top in terms of speed, skill, and talent. So it is going to be difficult to take the win up here. But guys like Cyphers, Prescott, Framheim, they're going to be up to the challenge. We've seen them do it before. But who will come out on top today as they exit out of Hogpen? The pace car is in. And Cyphers has to wait for the call from the top as they're stacking up a little bit behind them. I saw a bit of car contact. Hopefully that is it for that as they get ready to fly down into turn one. There's the green flag. And it is a good start for Cyphers, but looks like Prescott is matching him coming down into turn one, into the horseshoe. He's going to try around the outside, but it looks like he's got a contact, though, with third place.
Oh, that was a big dive down to the inside. That's going to send multiple drivers around. Prescott breaks. I see Campbell dropping down through the order. It is absolute calamity coming down through horseshoe.
Oh, this is not what we wanted to see. I think Chris Cook also got turned sideways, but he's able to get it going. Cypher still leads. Sang is going to be able to take that second place as Sagar finds himself in third. Mark Nistor still plunging down my timing tower. He must have had a serious problem.
Yeah, he must have had a serious problem as we take a look at the leaders. What that is going to do here at this point for Derek Cyphers is allow him to be able to pull away and out into relatively clean air as he runs. So that's going to be a big boon to him.
The biggest gainer out of all of that, I think, is Nick Facciolo up 8 on those first few corners there, managing to sneak through all the melee. But up at the front, Cyphers, as you mentioned, pulling himself a handicap of about a second over Justin Sang right now. And they're going to come out of Oak Tree here in the mid-pack where things have been severely jumbled up. Prescott's fallen down 14 positions here on the first lap and now has to make up for it.
Yeah, he's really going to have to dig deep here at this point in a 40-minute sprint race. That is going to be hard to do to try to catch back up all the way through the field. But we know Prescott has got the speed to be able to do it. They now file their way through roller coaster for the first time. Not seeing a lot of side-by-side through the field.
And in fact, I wonder if this is going to be a bad day for Prescott because we saw in the other races, DJ, it looked like it was relatively tough to make overtakes here these 2 weeks.
Yeah, this is not the easiest track to get an overtake done, Joe. It's very, very difficult to get up alongside. You're really dealing with two passing zones as a whole going down into a couple of corners. So it's going to be not the easiest thing to get anything done.
A little bit of a look down to the inside by Arthur Chan, but he outbreaks himself, and that's going to allow Prescott to at least get one more back. He was trying to chase on Gregorado, but it looks like that one backfired a little bit. At least he kept it on the black stuff and is still outrunning as we look as far down as 24th. I mentioned that Chris Cook kind of got turned sideways. He's only lost 4 positions.
Only lost 4 positions. That's pretty lucky there for him. But when we normally see those bigger incidents coming through there, it's going to be very, very difficult to be able to try to gain those back up. So good for him to hold on to that as he stands.
Thankfully, that did not bring out a yellow flag. So we will stay green. That was a big problem back at Spa, but we haven't seen it at all here in these 2 weeks. Oh, and I just saw a car off. I think it's South Bend. That was Jake Faulkner a little bit back there. I'm not sure if we caught a glance of him on screen, but he seems to have had an issue up through there and is going to find his way back up the track. Meanwhile, we're going to be checking in with Chris Pies. He's chasing on Dawan for that podium position.
Yeah, he's trying to close in here at this point, but the gap is expanding. It's now up to 0.7 of a second between himself and Darwin. He's going to have to try to dig in a little bit more if he wants to go. But, Joe, let's remember what we talked about earlier on in this broadcast. Pies could very well be saving a little bit of tires here at this point in the running.
Well, the first week of VIR, we had winners going back-to-back, and then we didn't have a back-to-back winner for Club. We're not going to have that for Teddy Framheim unless something crazy happens out there because he's 35th. Trey Drawhorn, in the meantime, down here in 8th position. He is in the thick of the action.
Well, he's in the thick of the action in wherever he is right now. That kind of has the makings of a dorm. I've got to say, wish I had that when I was in college to be able to go through that and have my friends to be able to cheer me on like that. But Trey locked into the zone here at this point, running in 8th place.
Pretty sure my dorm mates would have been very annoyed with me racing all the time. But regardless, as we climb up through the snake, you can see him try to catch up to this group in front of him, which includes Pies and Sang and many of the front runners here as they continue to drop off of Cyphers, who's also pulling away from Darwin there in second place. So that is looking quite good for our leaders, at least in the early stages. But this is an open setup series as opposed to the fixed setup that we saw in Challenge in Sports. So that could come into play later in the race if you've got a car that is good later on.
Yeah, it's going to be good as they go. We look out the back here of Briggs as he tries to hold off the attack from Melorano. That's only about 0.4 of a second, the gap here at this point, so that could certainly close on in a little bit more. But again, this is the point where you think you could do it. Oh, but we've got a little bit of side-by-side farther back on that as Gregorano looked at a move there.
He was thinking about it, but he just didn't have the overlap, and Melorano is going to be able to shut the doors. We now hop on board with Gregorano. Look at how it just clatters over the curbs here down through Hogpen, but he needs as good an exit as he can get here up the main straight, the second longest acceleration zone.
Yeah, he's going to need to get to good run here. This is the much safer overtaking opportunity, Joe, coming into Horseshoe. It's a little bit difficult to try to get it to go. Gregorano going to take that look down to the inside, but Melorano holding it off well in that Duncan machine. He is going to block it off well.
Yep, in fact, he's even going to cover the inside down in a NASCAR bend just to play it safe, although he's a little bit offline. He looks slow. It's going to make him vulnerable, and Gregorano thinks there might be another chance of the left hook, but no. Once again, he cannot manage to get his nose underneath the quarter panel of that Porsche. And he's got to watch out because Robbie Prescott's back there. We know he is going to be fast compared to them based on qualifying.
Yeah, they're going to have to be very, very careful about that number 13 because Prescott's going to look to try his advantage here at this point. And if I'm Robbie Prescott, I'm probably having to keep my emotions relatively contained here at this point. Tuck everything down, push it down a little bit because the blood's probably up. We know how good he was. He's got to be upset that he's far down this through the order. And so he's just got to kind of bring everything down and attack this calm, cool, and collected.
Unfortunately for him, he seems to have cut the course going through the snake because he suddenly had a black flag and fell off the group that we're riding with still. In fact, if you look in the rearview camera of Gregorano, you couldn't even really spy that tiny little dot. There he is now, having fallen off the back of that green and black car. And things have gone from bad to worse, DJ, for Teddy Framheim. He's given a black flag for that contact on lap 1.
Oh, when things go bad, they just continue to go bad here at this frame. I'm going to have to come down into pit lane as he runs and serve that penalty.
Wow, that's going to be rough to make up those spots. He basically is going to have to hope that other people have offs and incidents if he really wants to catch and pass a few people. Otherwise, I don't think there's going to be much in it as down into the corner. I think that was a big look from Ryan Cowley in the number 1 that couldn't quite get to the inside of Rodney Campbell, but definitely made him at least glance in the mirrors.
Well, and sometimes on a track like VIR, that is what you have to do, is just take those little looks to try to see if you can get the driver in front of you to bite and to see if they can put themselves into a position where they're going to make a mistake. That's good heads up.
Meanwhile, watching down here in 9th, that looks to be a battle, I think, between Trey Drawhorn and Matthew Siddall. No, excuse me, we're watching the battle for 10th. Rather, that's Facciolo that we've got on screen of the bright yellow machine being chased by Leif Peterson. In fact, both of them in yellow. That is going to be the number 25 that is leading them, Facciolo, in that 10th spot. Great exit for Peterson. Don't know if it's going to be enough, though, but he's starting to reel him in a bit.
Starting to reel him in a little bit here. Oh, Melorano committing to the bit. I love it, I love it, I love it. Look at that in the VR, but with the full Duncan outfit.
Yeah, we saw this 2 weeks ago as well, and yeah, he's definitely loves his Duncan. The only thing that we still haven't seen is we suggested he had kind of donut eyes on the front of that VIR, and that would complete it. We'll see if he goes and does that, but in the meantime, he is just behind that battle that we were watching. In fact, it's getting very close between those two yellow cars, and Facciolo is probably going to have to stay defensive coming down into the horseshoe. Nope, he's going to leave the door open.
All right, he's going to leave the door open, but nobody knocking at the door here at this point, so nobody's going to try to go for it. Oh!
He gets through. Peterson just out-drags him off the corner. I don't know if there was a slide that we couldn't see from that camera angle, but Facciolo just got pounced upon.
Absolutely pounced upon there at that point, and here they continue to play themselves out. My goodness, where we weren't expecting it, this is remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, it looked normal on the way into the corner. I just suddenly saw halfway through was falling behind him, and that was a bit strange to see. Meanwhile, behind them, Prescott is caught back up to Gregorato, but still has work to do. This is the battle for, it says for 15th, but I think that's the front of the group, actually. Lee Peterson, potentially. There is your 15th place driver, Prescott, chasing 14th, and in front of them, someone going off almost, I think that was Briggs going wide at Oak Tree.
Briggs going wide at Oak Tree here at this point. Everybody just trying to hold this together because remember, Joe, as they continue to have a little bit of a problem left, right, and center, they're just going to continue to make those mistakes if they're put under the pressure.
Up the inside there. Briggs is going to be able to sneak by Facciolo in the end. Meanwhile, Justin Sang here in third position is keeping touch with Darwin. He's still within about 0.6 of a second, but I don't think he's within striking range is the problem. We'll have to watch those pit stops because we're getting to where the pit window is opening, but I would not expect them for at least another 15 minutes from most of these drivers. If he's still this close, DJ, that could be an issue if he tries to undercut Sagar.
Yeah, it could be a little bit of an issue here at this point if he does indeed try to go for the undercut, but let's see. Remember, we do have those pit stops coming out.
Indeed, you can see the gap now between P1 and P2 up to about 2.2 seconds, continuing to get himself as far out of reach as he can go. Derek Seifers has great control of this race so far. And I'm kind of half watching Melorano and Gregorato because they're side by side back behind this group. There you can see them coming across the screen. Oh, and Gregorato gets punted into the wall.
Oh, Gregorato having a very, very rough day here at this point, and he is going to be in a tough position as he tries to get that back together.
I mean, it's too wide through the snake, DJ. That's always going to be a risky proposition. I think it just bit him.
Yeah, I think it did too. Too wide through really any area of this track that is not one of those two major overtaking opportunities. You're just going to find yourself in trouble.
Well, Gregorato has to suck out the venom of that snake bite. Prescott's going to at least be able to pick up one more, and that's going to move him into 14th. Next on his list is going to be Nick Melorani. Let's see if he can manage to overtake the Donut Man here, as up at the front of that group is still the likes of Gregorato up in front of them, and currently sitting, actually no, excuse me, that is Gregorato now behind them, rather I should say, in the 7-7-1 down to 23rd position, it looks like. Battle for 9th place is Matthew Siddall up there, trying to chase on Trey Drawhorn, who we were watching a little bit earlier.
All right, so the battle continuing on here at this point. Everything starting to get a little bit more exciting, a little bit more electric, Joe. As we get closer and closer to that clock striking 0, I think everything is just going to start firing off.
Absolutely, and looking back here, that was off of Arthur Chan looking at Rodney Campbell. So this is the battle for 15th position with a train of cars. Ryan Cowley, Chad Henson, Kerry Brooks, Nicky Chan. Looks like Chris Cook is in there still trying to make up for his loss at the start, but he's at least back to 21st. And then he's got Jim Huth in behind him.
Yeah, Huth going to try to just pick up the pieces here at this point, I think. If he's smart about this, let this battle play out in front of him and try to see if he can be able to maybe find his way by.
So you get ready for the braking up into Oak Tree once again. Trying to steer the car and slow it at the same time, and then hit the throttle and punch it coming out of it. We're going to watch Rod Rodriguez also attempt that as we see him fighting for 28th position just in front of him, trying to clip that apex and get the power down. That's Michael Patterson just in front of him.
Patterson trying to hold on to this position. Everybody doing a good job here, Joe, of not going too defensive. When you try to go super defensive down into roller coaster, it can really come back to bite you because it'll compromise your entry into that line. But we've got our first taker down pit lane, Trey Drawhorn.
Ooh, interesting. And I know he had an off through South Bend this time that we didn't see. So I'm not sure if maybe he's unhappy with the handling of the car and is going to try and see what he can do there. But, oh, he missed his pit stall on top of it. So he's going to have extra time down there. It looks like he's got a few others. Robbie Prescott is in. And trying to see who else that is. I think that is Cowley also pitting in. So that is very, very early. We usually don't see people in until about halfway through, so the 20-minute mark.
Yeah, it's still a little bit surprising, but I think because of the lack of overtaking opportunities on the track, Joe, everybody trying to dive on in here early is to try to just get a little bit of clean air on this circuit.
Chan leading this group, noticing he's got a little bit of damage on the nose. Hopefully that's not affecting him too much, but if he's slow in a straight line, we'll know pretty quickly because Madison Avenue is going to reveal that weakness.
Yeah, it certainly will reveal it very, very quickly here if he's not careful, but let's see if he's got any problems. No, it doesn't look like he's slowing down too much.
Yep, he's already on the throttle and starting to take off. Campbell will be able to overtake him if he has issues, but it doesn't look like it, like DJ said. Watching from Nicky Chan's view, not to be confused with Arthur Chan as well. No relation between them. Meanwhile, down to Brooks, down in 16th position. Casey kind of smack dab in the middle of that group. We've also got a replay of Faulkner. Let's see what he's gotten into. I think he got a penalty a little bit ago.
All right, let's take a look here. Now, this is coming up through the rising S's. Tries to poke his nose to the inside. Oh, and just loses it through South Bend. Got a little bit too much. Got a little bit too aggressive there at that point. That was just enough to throw him off. And a correction. It looks like he was not penalized. They were looking at it for an unsafe re-entry, but they have deemed that one safe enough. Just unfortunate they lost a lot of spots in that. Kerry Brooks, in the meantime, pitting. I think he's being joined by Dale Green and Nicky Chan as well. Wow, a lot of drivers really having an unusual strategy here today. I wonder if that's affected at all by some of the hot temperatures on the track. I mean, that could be it. We could see drivers diving down in as a result of that. I'm not entirely sure, though, because with just as little fuel as they need to put in the car, I don't think taking a full set of tires would necessarily be it. And the other part is you've got to make the tires last through the whole 30 minutes that you're waiting out on track. Well, the other thought maybe that I had, DJ, is that maybe these are cars that are kind of stuck in some of these trains. We saw that last night with the club class, that trains started to form and drivers having trouble passing were just kind of in a stalemate there. So maybe they're trying to think outside the box. Yeah, I think that could be it. A little bit of what I was talking about earlier in terms of that clean air that they were trying to be able to get and work their way through. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. Meanwhile, the 62 of Chan heading down into, of Campbell heading down into the roller coaster and then up towards the front. That is Amarim, who is still trying to keep within touch of Justin Sang. And then Chris Pies is right behind him. But it is separating up on the podium and from there on back. Basically from Pies, Braun, Grado, and Siddall, though, it's closing in. I like that little sign there that Chris Pies has. May your coffee kick in before reality kicks in. I can tell you, as somebody who wakes up, stumbles the coffee pot every morning, and intravenously takes about 4 cups, I approve of that.
feel like he needs one that says, don't talk to me before I've had my flat 6 in the morning.
I like that.
Meanwhile, checking in with the TV cams on Amarim as we get shots of him heading through, and Pies as well, heading through South Bend and into Oak Tree, all of them trying to maximize what they can through there. Also got a view of Ryan Cowley, and looks like he's got his axe with him there in his room.
Oh, I looked up for a second and thought you meant a literal axe.
No.
I was very confused for a moment there, Joe.
I mean, if someone's into timber sports, my wife did compete in those, so there could be. I'll have to ask and see if anybody actually does that in the PCA. But anyways, Prescott now is who we're watching. Remember, he fell back very early on. And Robbie, oh man, he's still only 25th. Although, actually, I say that, but I forgot that he took his pit stop. So that sent him back down again. We won't really get a good picture until a bunch of other cars pit, and then we'll see how many spots he's gained. For him, DJ, I definitely think that makes sense. If he's stuck towards the back of the pack, I mean, you might as well pit early.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. I think that's an absolute good call to be able to do that. Just take a little bit of a gamble and see what happens.
Briggs now pitting in, so he's also got Rodney Campbell pitting with him. Let's see if anybody else also hops in here on this lap now that we are pretty much at the halfway point. That fourth place battle. I got to say, Amarim, we've seen him deal with pressure before, and he usually does pretty decent with it. Today's is definitely keeping Chris, both Chris's behind him at an arm's length. So I'd say he's managing it well in the first half. Let's see if the second half can go just as good.
Yeah, let's see if he's able to just keep everything together. Oh, I think Peter Sigourney may have had a problem through the field. He dropped down a couple of positions behind Rodriguez and Eddie farther down.
Sigourney, unfortunately, down to 20th, although he's gained 12 spots from the start, so it's still not a bad day for him. He's actually got Lyle Eddy and Joe Sinclair to either side, and both of them have gained 14 positions. Now, none of these cars have pitted yet, so that might change a little bit later on. Still watching here up and over the crest of the roller coaster as we're going to get a replay. Let's see, this is Sigourney.
Yeah, Sigourney leading the group here. Track's out a little bit wide going into NASCAR Bend. Going to keep it together. I've got a sneaking suspicion I know what's coming here. Onto the grass, coming through left hook. Just a little bit off track.
Honestly, I'd say he's lucky that car did not spin when he put a wheel in the dirt. That is such a difficult corner. That corner has honestly been the bane of my existence, so I don't blame him for making a mistake into there. As on the bottom of your screen, Cyphers has not extended his gap, interestingly. It's still about 2.2 seconds. So looks like Sagar has definitely been pushing hard and pushing Derek so that he cannot get away. On the bottom of your screen, Arthur Chan is just ahead of Henson and Huth.
All right, just ahead of them here at this point. Let's see what can happen if, oh, a little bit of a wide run there in 13th position. That was Chan that almost got wrong.
Got to watch out for that here. Mistakes can be so costly from what we've seen. Teddy Framheim now pits in, takes his service. We've got some information. Oh. The leader just spun. Derek Cyphers is off the track in Oak Tree and falling down the order. Sagar Dhawan has now taken the lead away from the number 95. I just said how you have to watch out for those mistakes. They could be costly, and one hiccup has given it away from Cyphers.
One little hiccup there at this point. Let's see exactly what happened. This is coming up into Oak Tree. Just too much speed, Joe. Too much speed into that first right-hander, and that absolutely, oh, Dhawan almost getting into the side of him.
Very close, very good heads up, and that's tricky because I wouldn't consider that an unsafe re-entry from Cyphers, but he very much was prone across the track, and I think he got a little lucky that Dhawan was heads up.
Yeah, I think he did as well. And Dhawan there just able to kind of tap on the binders a little bit, slow the car down, try to be able to get everything together. And very, very heads-up play there from Dhawan to be able to keep that together like he did.
Jim Huth now pitting. Highest driver to have pitted right now is Robbie Prescott. Huth might emerge in front of him. It'll be close, though. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Down in 24th, Ryan Cowley is, my goodness, under immense pressure. That's Campbell, Brooks, Cook, all just climbing over his rear end.
Yeah, he is really on the attack here at this point. Ooh, wide run, though, there for him, coming down through the snake, or excuse me, coming down through Hog Pen. This could be a run. If he's able to hold that a little bit better, let's see what he's able to get.
He's starting to get close, and in fact, that forces Campbell to go defensive, coming down into the braking. Oh, he outbrakes himself, and he runs into Cowley. Both of the spin around, sneaking on by. Cook will take 2 positions, and Nicky Chan will as well. Cowley and Campbell fall down the order. That is recompense for Chris Cook, considering he got turned early on.
Yeah, I think it is a little bit of that here at this point, Joe, but all of these drivers, just you can see the fine margins that we're dealing with here at this point in the running. Let's take a look at the replay. You called it perfectly. Just outbraked himself down into the corner.
So focused on that defense, maybe just got overambitious. Car was there in front of him, and unfortunately, I think that also caused one car to have to check up heavily. That was Casey Brooks, who had to come to a complete halt there in the neon green and purple on the outside, kind of an innocent victim.
Yeah, but that's good heads up. I mean, rather lose one position than get some potentially terminal front-end damage there at that point. Now, this is Sang and Amarim, the battle for P2. We've had another taker down into pit lane, by the way, as Nick Facciolo is coming on in.
Yeah, Sang and Amarim both got promoted up the podium. Amarim onto the podium, really, with that spin from Cyphers. Facciolo is done with his pit stop, and I think he will emerge ahead of Robbie Prescott, so he will take over the role of highest driver to have pitted now at this stage. Rodney Campbell, in the meantime, pretty much a slam dunk penalty, I think, for that contact.
Yep, I think it is there a little bit as well. We take a live look on board Stephen Kemp. Full VIR immersion there as he brings his way around, trying to close in on 13th. Rich Minkler up ahead of him. But I think his more pressing concern is Robert Rose coming up behind him in that number 443 Porsche.
Can we just point out that Stephen Kemp is driving the number 37? And take a look at his little model. That's the number 37. I think he has a penchant for that number.
I think he does too. I think there may be a connection there. I'm not sure.
I'll have to look into my notes, see if I can find if he's given us a reason why he chooses that number, because they have asked the drivers that in the past, but I'll have to do some digging. In the meantime, battle for 13th between Kemp and it looks like Robert Rose, as he's being chased down the backstretch. And actually, this is for 14th. Kemp in the lead of these two. This is a good shot for Rose. Let's see if he wants to try and take it. He's, nope, gonna lift a little bit early on the way into the roller coaster.
Yeah, just decides not to go for it there. Again, what we talked about a little bit earlier in the roller coaster, Joe, it looks like an inviting area to get that overtake done, but you've really got to be clear and in front of the driver you're trying to pass. A lot of drivers coming down into pit lane right now. Amarin, Sidal, Melorano, and Binkler.
Yeah, that's a bunch of our top 5 drivers. So that means things are starting to kick off, I think, towards the end of the pit window. Back onto the track. Looks like Amarim and Grotto managed to find their way safely into a nice opening at this stage. Ryan Cowley, in the meantime, needing to make up for being involved in that incident a bit ago as he flies down the hill in that number 1. Currently sits in 28th. He's been in the pits already. Here is our former leader, Derek Cyphers. Still needs to take his pit stop. He is caught back up to Chris Pies. Has not been able to make a pass quite yet, though.
No, not quite able to make the pass here at this point. And I've got to think it's going to be pretty tricky for him to get a pass done on Pies. Pies is a very, very stout defender and knows exactly how to position that number 453 to put off any sort of attack here from Derek Cyphers.
Breaking into the roller coaster once again. Both of them do need their pit stop. I'm anticipating we'll be seeing most of them in based on the fact that we had a number of higher up drivers pitting last lap, and indeed Dawan, Sang, Pai, Cyphers, Braun, they're all in.
All right, it is time to everybody pretty much come on into pit lane, and it looks like here at this point that I think Chris may have gotten a little bit of damage from behind as Cyphers may have run into the back of him.
Yeah, you're right. He did. Unfortunately, maybe he was pushing that a bit much on the way into pit lane. Chad Henson, in the meantime, also pitting. Looks like Kemp going to find his way in. Who will emerge our leader of this group? Oh, it's going to be tight for the lead. Actually, it's Chris Pies and Sagar Dhawan side by side down into the corner. In fact, they were emerging at the exact same time, neck and neck out of pit lane, almost contact between them coming off the turn. And Rafael Amorim is right with them. 1, 2, 3 together on track after pit stops.
Joe, I think we've got a little bit of a race on our hands here at this point, and don't look behind Cypher, Sang, Braun, and Grotto. They're all close in this. Absolutely anybody in the top 7 could take this away.
Look at how close Pies is. Oh, and that was a little mistake from Dhawan. I think this is an opportunity from Chris. He's going to duck out to the left-hand side. Do they dare go wheel to wheel through the climbing S's? We already saw it go south through the snake. What about here? This is a one-lane road, and just edging ahead. Chris Pies is going to take the spot. Oh, no, they come together. Can Pies get away from it? Yes, he does, but Moore's cars spin behind, trying to avoid. Cyphers gets involved in it. Braun goes off track. Looks like Justin Sang also collected. It is calamity at the front of the field.
And that is all. Unfortunately, I've got to put that on Rafael Amorim. You can try to go too wide through the rising S's, but you cannot get it done through South Bend. Contact there between the two.
I don't know. That was a late defense from Dhawan. I think you could put it on either one of the drivers. Let's watch here. Yeah, it moves across, although it could have been some netcode that kind of steered him into it. And then the other cars behind, I think, just saw the accident happening and tangled with one another trying to avoid.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of one way, a little bit of the other. The only thing that we know for sure, Joe, we'll let race control review that. There is a little bit of netcode potentially, but I'll tell you one thing, everybody ended in tears after that.
Except for Chris Pies, who got a 2.5 second lead because of all that happened behind him. And also Logan Grotto in the number 8 bumps himself up into second. Chris Braun climbs up to third. It has been a complete shuffle from the start of the race.
Oh my goodness gracious. I mean, try to keep your head on a swivel here to keep up with all of this. Absolutely remarkable. And the battle's not done. Chris Brown still has Dhawan behind him and only about 0.6 of a second back, so that battle could still very well be on.
Man, Logan is up 8 positions. I always comment about how it's a lot harder to make up a lot of spots at the front of the field, even more so when you're talking about the pro class here. That is an unbelievable climb up the order for the number 8 car.
Yeah, I mean, these are the top of the pops when we talk about these drivers. They are absolutely the best of the best when it comes to racing. So really, really remarkable that we're seeing this much back and forth.
Battle for 6th place being led by Sang. Facciolo's in there. Robbie Prescott is back up to 8th spot. This is a great recovery. Now that all the pit stops are over, Prescott looks like his early strategy is paying off quite well. He's still down 6 from where he started, considering he was on the front row. But, I mean, damage limitation has been excellent from that number 13.
Yeah, it really has. He's done a great job here to keep everything together. Robbie Prescott watching, though, up ahead as there comes a move. Facciolo into the roller coaster. Remember when I said you couldn't go side by side? Facciolo says, watch me.
That was Sang. I thought for sure they were going to make contact and they'll get out the other side somehow. Facciolo has taken 6th place by force.
Yeah, it really has. Just absolutely muscled his way out. And look at all the time here that Justin Sang has lost as a result of that not being able to get on the loud pedal. Here comes Prescott. Here comes Peterson. It's a train.
You saw the shake of his head. Oh, and he's off the track. I think maybe that was some frustration showing its head there. Justin Sang is out of this one. So Sagar Dhawan now returns to 3rd. Braun falls to 4th. Amorim up to 5th. And Facciolo to P6.
All right, all the shuffling around here at this point. Let's see what is able to happen in the final 6 minutes of this race. If the whole rest of this race has been any sort of indication, who knows what can happen here coming forward.
This is not as wild as I thought it was going to be. It tends to be the slower classes that you see sort of chaotic races, and these are the drivers, as we said, that are the most skilled, the most consistent. So it tends to be much more of a chess match up here. But today, this track has brought out the mistakes of many of our best, and it is maybe going to be more of a game of attrition.
I mean, maybe it is, and I think it's really a testament here to the circuit rather than the drivers itself. You know, we coming from Spa and then going to the Red Bull Ring shortly thereafter. Those are two FIA Grade 1 circuits. I think this is more of a club-style American circuit, and it's really challenging these drivers.
It certainly is, and we're watching 11th here. So that is Chad Henson being chased by Huth and Arthur Chan coming down through into Hogpen once again. So just outside of the top 10. Henson a little bit far back to break into that top 10 with Briggs in front of him, unless a car ahead has another issue. So at this point, maybe trying to consolidate this P11 over Jim Huth as he's going defensive a little bit. That seems maybe a little bit premature. I didn't think Huth was that close.
Yeah, I didn't either, but, you know, sometimes you get this late in the race, you just kind of want to stake your position and say, no, this is my spot. Don't take it away from me.
Continue to watch that on the top as we got the battle for 6 down on the bottom. Facciolo versus Prescott. He could still get one more. Could Robbie trying to recover his way forward? Not just Facciolo, but Joe Stifel. Nope, actually Joe's a lap down, so that's not going to be forward position. It's a little ways up the road for Amarim, it appears on my timing screen. Maybe about 2.5 seconds up there. Now we're going to be watching on board with Prescott as well in that fight. Look at him close under braking.
Yeah, he feels very, very comfortable on the brakes of that 992. Everything working together, and a little bit of the dragon move there of the 003 trying to get out of the way as Stifel is doing the right thing there, but everybody trying to steal the draft off of him as they come down Madison Avenue.
Yeah, that scared me for a second. I'm not sure if they were caught out, but they made good use of things. Looks like Chris Braun was given a black flag. Oh, that's our 4th place runner. Oh my goodness, Chris Braun is going to tumble down the order after that.
Oh my goodness gracious, more calamity, more drama coming out here late on in the race.
Wow. So that is frustrating to see for the 258s, and I guess that means Prescott now up into 6. Could he crack the top 5 as he challenges Facciolo into the first turn? He looks around the outside. That is difficult to do, and he doesn't make it stick, but gave it a right go.
Yeah, he's trying to mark for it here at this point. He knows there's only about 2 laps left to go in this race, and he doesn't want to wait around for it by any stretch of the imagination.
Ooh, little mistake there by Prescott coming out of the right-hander down into the snake. That's Leif Peterson just behind him. So he could try and pick that one up. Also, we should mention that Facciolo's up 13 from where he gridded. Fantastic race for that yellow number 25.
Yeah, that's a really good one for him to be able to do that. Oh, more news here. Derek Cyphers being given a black flag from P8.
And I believe he's the one that moved across the track in that. No, I take that back. That wasn't him, I don't think. I think he caused the secondary incident in that run up into South Bend. But regardless, whatever the case, he has been ruled at fault. So he is going to go from leading this race, I wouldn't say comfortably, but handily, to now suddenly being, gosh, probably outside the top 15.
Yeah, that's not going to be a good run for him by any stretch of the imagination. Chris Pye's going to cross over the line with 2 minutes left to go. That is going to be exactly 2 laps to go here for Chris Pye's.
Wow. I have a feeling that he's going to be a little bit shocked that he's leading this race, and even more so if he manages to win it. And by the way, a correction from race control. It wasn't for the incident into South Bend that they penalized Cyphers. It was for the contact he made with Pies coming into the pit lane.
And remember, we kind of pointed that out a little bit, wondered what it was going to be, but there it is. So that is exactly what's going to be happening there for him. That is the reason for that. There's Matthew Siddall that we take a look at. Big old wide triple monitor there that he's got. Very jealous of that, I have to say.
I am too, and of the spa cutout that he's got hanging on the wall. But as he continues on, unfortunately, he'll have to maybe feel happy about having this wide screen and that cool wall decoration, because he just spins off track, adding to the issues of the day, because he's already down 22 spots from where he started this thing in 9th. Definitely going to be a drop day for Matthew.
Yeah, that's not going to be a good run there for him, unfortunately. I don't exactly love that for him, but he's going to continue going on back around here at this point. Pretty spread out up in the top 4 here at this point. The closest battle, Facciolo's under pressure from Prescott.
Side by side up into the roller coaster. Prescott's going to have the inside down to the apex. Can he keep it tucked in? He can. Almost runs into the side of him once again, and that causes him to check up. Facciolo will live to fight another day.
He will indeed here at this point, trying to be able to get it on and try to be able to hold ahead, but he's got to watch out for Leif Peterson behind him. There's not a lot left, and there's only 1 lap to go.
White flag is out for Chris Pye, still 2 seconds ahead. Prescott could still take this 5th place away from Nick, but he's got to watch out for Peterson and Briggs behind. In fact, that is Briggs trying to send it in. Can he keep it pointed forward? Yes, he can. That tail of the car really wanted to come around. He was going in deep.
Yeah, very, very deep there at that point, but somehow able to keep it together here at this point as they run. We keep our eye on Prescott, just looking for the opportunity to pounce here on Facciolo.
Oh, tries to cut back underneath, but Facciolo was parked at the apex, couldn't carry his momentum. He is still right on top of him. He's doing everything he can, but Facciolo, with his stout defense so far, has been doing beautifully.
He's been doing an absolutely incredible job to be able to keep him behind at this point. He's going to have to run the gamut again, though, going down Madison Avenue. If Prescott's this close behind, he may be able to have a good run.
I'm pretty sure, and we saw him try it last time, so he's not afraid to give it a go, especially this late in the race. Again, Prescott started this on the front row, so he's just trying to make up whatever he can, knowing that it could have been that little bit more. But Chris Pye's here, sitting in P1, started this race from 6th position, was honestly, I think, around 5th or so from most of it, emerged from pit lane with a wicked fast pit stop, found himself up into the lead after fighting for it, pumps his fist in celebration. There's the wave as he takes the win here at VIR.
Just calm, cool, and collected. Let the race come to him, and that 453 is going to be across the line, but Prescott on for battle here. He's going to run to the line.
Oh, I think he's just a little too short as they hit the line. Yeah, a 1/10 of a second back, unfortunately. That's how tight it was, but he'll still manage 6th place. Grotto and Dawan got a podium here today. Excellent run from them, especially Logan Grotto, up 8 positions, and Facciolo up 13 at the end. Henson up 12. There are some huge movers today.
Yeah, big-time drivers that were just able to take advantage of others' misfortune. It was a good heads-up for a lot of these drivers to just put their nose in the right position and be able to take this away and get a good result.
Trey Drawhorn, was very slow to the line. Wonder if maybe he was out of fuel, as Nistor is going to finish ahead of him in the 005. And I think that is the last of our cars. Rodney Campbell looks like the last one on the lead lap down there in 34th. That said, 35 out of 36 finished this race, but at the front of them, it was Chris Pye's, with Logan Grotto finishing P2 and Sagar Dawan in 3rd. After that, it was Rafael Amarim finishing P4. Facciolo going from 18th to 5th. Robbie Prescott recovered to a 6th place, and Leif Peterson was 7th. Then it was Thomas Briggs in P8 today, Chad Henson 9th, and Jim Huth 10th.
In 11th place, it was Arthur Chan, followed by Chris Crook, then Kerry Brooks and Enrico Gregorato. Nicky Chan rounds out your top 10. Chris Braun came home 16th. Derek Seifer's rough day found him finishing in 17th, followed by Rich Minkler, Ryan Cowley, and Rob Rodriguez.
Stephen Kemp was 21st as Lyle Eddy finishes P22, and then Robert Rose 23rd. After that, it's Michael Peterson and 24th, and Teddy Framheim from 3rd place to 25th in the end. Dale Green wound up 26th, Jake Faulkner 27th. Peter Sigourney, P28 for him, Joe Sinclair 29th, and Nick Melorano wound up 30th.
In 31st, it was Matthew Siddall, followed by Mike Nistor, then Trey Drawhorn and Rodney Campbell, last drive to finish on the lead lap. Joe Steifel was in 35th, Justin Sang and Connor Fisk all three of them having some rough days out there.
Still impressive that with all the issues, 34 cars out of 36 starters finished on the lead.